Lennox Lewis says that Anthony Joshua needs a new trainer. He should fire Robert McCracken and replace him with somebody else. I'm going to quote Lennox Lewis directly here. He says, "I say you can't go to university with your third grade teacher. They won't have the answers you need at that level. You need a professor by then. McCracken is A1 without question, but maybe not the fit for the style of AJ. Not the fit for the style AJ needs to fight. I switched to Manny Stewart, who understood how to leverage all of my physical attributes and skills and showed me everything I needed to know for success. McCracken may not be right for the type of style that AJ needs to master. Aside from that, AJ was not prepared for anything Ruiz brought to the table." So we've had Lennox Lewis now coming out saying AJ needs to get rid of McCracken. We also had Dave Allen the other day saying AJ needs to get rid of McCracken. We've now got Frank Warren coming out saying AJ needs to get rid of McCracken. I'm going to quote Frank Warren here from his interview with TalkSport. He said, with The Telegraph. Frank Warren said, "I've made my views clear about the trainer. Somebody's got to be accountable for this. I don't like the trainer at all. I think his job as an amateur, where he gets the best fighters given to him, everything's been done with them. What's he doing? An amateur trainer training Joshua for professional title fights. What sparring operations is he getting? Sparring with amateurs." So he says that in the interview with The Telegraph. He also says that in this interview right here with IFL. And again, I'm critical of Frank Warren in many aspects, but when he says something I agree with, I'm going to tell you. I'm objective with it, all right? And I agree with Frank Warren in this particular instance that Anthony Joshua needs to get rid of Robert McCracken. And for those of you who are not familiar with my work and what I do here on YouTube, I am not being reactionary. I'm not somebody who, in the wake of AJ's defeat to Ruiz, I'm saying, oh, he's got to change everything. He's got to change it. No. That's not me. I've been saying that AJ needs to get rid of McCracken for over a year. So if I was saying that he needed to get rid of McCracken before the Ruiz fight, now that Ruiz has knocked him out, I'm obviously going to be even more adamant that he needs to get rid of McCracken. All right? I'm not going to all of a sudden say, oh yeah, he needs to get rid of McCracken, then he loses to Ruiz and say, oh, actually, no, he doesn't need to get rid of him, even though he just got knocked out. Obviously, I'm going to be even more adamant he needs to get rid of him. Frank Warren makes some good points in this interview in terms of Anthony Joshua's defense. And you see, when it comes to a trainer, the reasons that I've been wanting AJ to get rid of McCracken for so long is, as I've said, there's no place for loyalty in boxing when it comes to the boxers, because you're putting your life on the line when you get in the ring. The trainer's not putting his life on the line. The promoter's not putting his life on the line. The manager's not putting their life on the line. You, the fighter, are putting your life on the line. So there is no room for you to start being loyal to promoters and trainers and all these other people who might not be the best people for the job. And the idea is to change your trainer and get with the right trainer so that you can avoid losses. So that they can get the best out of you defensively, offensively, and psychologically, so that you can be at your absolute best, the best you could possibly be, technically, physically, mentally, going into every fight. It's sad that fighters have to end up losing or lose a bunch of times before they're like, okay, I need to change the trainer. The problems were there for all to see, for those who have eyes to see. You could see there were problems. I could see for a long time that there were things in AJ's game that were not being properly developed, not being properly corrected. Yeah, he was still winning, of course. It's not like Robert McCracken has taught him nothing. He's definitely taught him a lot. But he needs somebody now. In fact, he needed somebody a year ago, 2 years ago. He needed somebody to take him on to the next level. Yeah, been saying this for time, so I don't want to hear nobody saying, you're being reactionary. No, I'm not being reactionary. I'm being consistent. I've been saying this for a long time. And, as far as who he would go with, I've made the suggestion of some kind of partnership with Klitschko, whereby Klitschko oversees his training camps and helps him strategize. Klitschko could do for AJ something similar to what David Haye is doing for Chisora. And I know people are going to say, well, that didn't end well, but, you know, just because it didn't end well for Chisora, I don't mean it's going to go badly for AJ. I just think that Klitschko has a very similar mentality to AJ, or AJ has a similar mentality to him. Klitschko sees a lot of himself in AJ. So I just think Klitschko could be some kind of mentor and overseer of AJ's training camps, and maybe have Jonathan Banks, you know, as the main guy who does the pad work and all that kind of stuff. But Klitschko comes in and points this and says, oh, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to have your mind like this and so on and so forth. Doesn't necessarily have to be in AJ's corner, although he could. Vladimir Klitschko was in his brother Vitaly Klitschko's corner for many of his fights and vice versa. So I do think Klitschko would be a good place to go. Klitschko, Jonathan Banks team up. And Jonathan Banks, in fact, I'll make a separate video about this. Jonathan Banks, Andre Ward, George Foreman, and several other high-profile American fighters, former fighters and trainers have come forward and said that the criticism that Anthony Joshua is getting at the moment is overboard, it's over the top, and that he's nowhere near as bad as a lot of people are trying to make him out to be. Now, when it comes from Jonathan Banks, a cynical person might say, well, it's just Jonathan Banks hoping that he gets hired by AJ. So he's saying a lot of complimentary things about him in the hope that AJ picks up the phone and says, okay, come work for me. Come and be my trainer. So a cynical person might say that. Fair enough. But George Foreman has also offered to manage Anthony Joshua. Does he need the money, George Foreman? Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. See, I have to finish off that sentence now, because when I say maybe he does, people don't realize that it's a question. I'm not making a statement. So every time I say maybe he does, I better say maybe he doesn't. I don't know, in case people get the wrong impression. But you've also got Andre Ward coming out saying that AJ is the truth. He's not a hype job. It's just that, there's certain weaknesses in his game, certain holes in his game that need to be rectified. And he needs to also switch up his mentality. So again, I'll do a separate video about these. But yeah, for me, I've been saying for a year or more, I think more than a year, that AJ needs to get rid of McCracken. He can't take him to the next level. I thought AJ's boxing ability on the back foot, even against Povetkin, there was conflict there between what AJ wanted to do and what McCracken was telling him to do. Because McCracken was telling him, keep your hands up when you're moving around. And AJ keeps dropping his hands down when he's moving around. So there's a conflict there in terms of the style that AJ wants to employ. Because I think AJ wants to try and be more loose. And the style that McCracken is teaching him with hands high, even on the back foot, is a more robotic style. I remember seeing some early footage of McCracken training AJ, and he was getting him to move his head off what they call center line, right? With this very predictable side-to-side head movement that looks just very robotic when AJ does it. McCracken was getting him to do that. I don't think that's very good head movement, man. It's very predictable. I just don't think that think about it. McCracken's biggest name fighter before AJ was Carl Froch. Was Carl Froch known for having a good defense? That's a rhetorical question, because you guys all know the same answer to that. Was Carl Froch known for having a good defense? There you go. Okay. AJ definitely needs defensive improvements. He needs to learn how to box on the back foot. In fact, I remember talking about this when AJ was a very young pro, long before he fought for the title. And I was saying that I don't really rate AJ's back foot game, because I saw him try to box on the back foot in a couple amateur fights, and he looked really awkward on the back foot. It didn't look good at all in the amateur fights that I saw. I said this in videos several years ago. And I said, when someone puts him on the back foot, I'll be interested to see how he does, because he looked real awkward and just off key on the back foot. And he still does look awkward and off key on the back foot. When he's coming forward or when he's holding center ring, he looks okay. But when he's moving backwards and moving... In fact, Derek Chisora also said a couple years ago that AJ don't like it on the back foot. And Chisora should know, because he used to spar with AJ at Finchley ABC. So you should know they sparred loads of rounds. Anyway, I think moving forward, AJ needs to get rid of McCracken, hire somebody else. I think he should have been got rid of McCracken, years ago. And I have to agree with what Frank Warren has said. This is an amateur coach. Yeah, no disrespect to McCracken, but he's an amateur coach, and I just don't think a tree is known by its fruits at the end of the day. The proof is in the pudding. A tree is known by its fruits. And yes, AJ's got to a certain level with a certain amount of success with McCracken as his trainer, but to get to the next level, to correct all the mistakes that he's been making, because these mistakes are not new. Yeah, the defensive frailties is not new. Look at the Povetkin fight earlier. He was getting clipped with lots of shots in the Povetkin fight. He was defensively open. You know what I mean? The flaws there still hadn't been corrected. So get rid of McCracken, man. But it doesn't seem as though AJ will get rid of McCracken, which for me is a red flag. It's a red flag over AJ and his career, not getting rid of McCracken. Because until he does get rid of McCracken, he's going to be real vulnerable. And he's going to be vulnerable anyway, but McCracken is not the guy to be able to protect his vulnerabilities as well as some other coaches out there would be. Yeah. Just my opinion on it. Drop your opinions in the comment section below. It's happening about. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.